since are dying out, so it's just trying to keep everybody aware and keep the stories taking over for the next
Yeah.
generation.
So you you go on tours, and Charlie, you're involved as well in this. So you take a busload of people to, say, like a house that you believe's haunted.
Yeah.
So how does that unfold then throughout the event?
We had a tour there on Friday night past. We took a tour to Cookstown, to a 400-year-old mansion, haunted mansion, and we had a great night. Everybody had a great night. The feedback was unbelievable. Great.
Yeah. And in terms of, do you get a sense then when you're there that there's some kind of paranormal activity here, or have you heard stories before, or how does that come
Well,
about?
there's a lot of ones come off that bus tour now, and even all weekend after it, I was getting text messages and pictures.
Yeah.
Pictures of people looking at windows that weren't there, and people getting touched, and
Yeah.
people hearing words in their ears, and nobody there.
Yeah. And do you feel that it's one of these things that you have to believe in to see, or not?
I think the unknowns there too. Like the unknowns is enough to entice people in.
Yeah.
I mean, some people like entertainment, some people believe, but everybody to their own. Like I believe.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do. That's.
But that's it. Like, I feel as if I'm very open-minded. I wouldn't say I'm scared of ghosts or anything, but I'm like, I don't know if I've... Don't be looking at me like that now over my shoulder. I wouldn't say that I've ever seen a ghost, but I don't know if I would be scared either. Like, I live on a site that's an old hospital. My dad always jokes there's a morgue here or whatever. And I'm like, I don't care as long as, I'm not being harmed. Like, I'd say a lot of people are like that.
People have this thing in their head that all ghosts are evil. I don't believe that for a second.
Yeah.
So I don't.
Yeah, like Casper.
Casper, the friendly ghost, yeah.
But in terms of locally, Charlie, there's so many different stories about, and there's different events that kind of walk through the town where they tell different stories, but it's not all scary either, and it doesn't all involve ghosts, doesn't it not?
No, this is the thing about storytelling in general, which is something that I've sort of fallen into in the last year or so. A good friend of mine, Keith Corcoran, has written a book on fairy stories and ghost stories and things like that. So he brought me on as an advisor, and that's where it all started. But what it made me realise was that the amount of stories in relation to, as you said, the good, the bad, and the ugly, there's thousands of them. Some of them hundreds of years old. Some of them happen in more recent history. And if you want to, for instance, I can give you one from the locality, just a very short one. There's a lady who was actually related to my family. Was her 21st birthday. She got £5 for the birthday, which was a huge sum of money at the time. And she thought, I'm going to literally go to shopping in Derry now, and I'm going to blow it all on clothes and hats and whatever. So she walked down the road from her house, which is just outside Manor Cunningham, and didn't come home that evening. And then didn't come home the following evening. And then the search for her began. And it was only about 4 days later, she eventually showed up back at her own house with hats and furs and stoles and all manner of beautiful things that she got for her £5. And she was greeted at the door by a policeman at the time. This was the 20s.
You can imagine the
and
panic,
family.
yeah.
And she said, "What's the matter with you, sir? I was only away shopping, but geez, you never guessed where I was." And the family said, "You've been missing for 4 days."
My God.
And she says, "No, I was only away for the afternoon." And she said, 4 days? You've been gone for 4 days. Why do you think we have the police here looking for you? And she said, "Well, wait till I tell you where I was." I went down the road from the house, and I remember sort of tripping a wee minute, and everything went very cold. And when I sort of came out of this haze, I was standing in Times Square in New York. And everyone went, "I don't be ridiculous. All you've done is you've gone off and disappeared with some fella for 4 days." And she said, No, I'll show you the receipts. And she produced the receipts from shops in the main area, the main central section of New York, for all of her purchases. And it was the only tangible proof of her being transported where to this place for a bit in time. And
wouldn't everybody love that now?
I think
to be transported to New York.
I have walked for days trying to find that place and space and time to get to New York just with a wee trip, and a wee trip for the afternoon, but sadly to no effect.
Yeah, you haven't found it. You'll let us know anyway.
Yeah, if I do. Well, you'll see it on social media. It'll all be up there in Times Square.
But yeah, stories like that are brilliant from back in the day, and generations before us have different elements of that. And I don't think, we're talking about paranormal activity and stuff, but that's kind of like more folklore, or do you think that is related to paranormal activity?
I think for my own self, I think that, as Gary mentioned, the notion of belief earlier on, do you have to believe for these things to occur? And what I find interesting about stories like that is that it's across the board, whether people believe or not.
Yeah.
These occurrences happen, and whether they're explainable scientifically or not for now is I'd prefer if they were scientifically explainable personally myself. But whether we have an explanation for them or not now, they continue to occur, and they occur weekly, monthly around the globe. Different people, different faiths, different religions, different cultures, and I think it's something that is indicative of another side to a reality that is there, is tangible from time to time, but we don't yet fully understand how it works, which is fine. It's fine.
But I think that's the marvel of the world too. These things, as you mentioned, they do still happen as well. And even like yourself, with Haunted Ireland, you can't turn up somewhere and hope that somebody's going to see a ghost. This is just something that kind of happens as you go.
You can't prearrange a ghost to jump out, like.
Yeah. No, you can't give them a call. We're coming. But I think that's nice for people that do believe and that are into it. Like that's the magic as such for them too.
Even the traditions, like we do ones, small local ones, where Charlie and, like you said, Keith and myself, a small room are telling stories.
Yeah,
it just keeps the tradition alive. There's something nice about Irish people sitting in a room telling old ghost stories, but old Irish ghost stories. My stories are all Irish and all Donegal.
Yeah,
So they're all local stories, like, and there's just something about it.
Yeah.
It brings you back to your childhood when you're 15, 16.
Well, that's it.
Your
and you hang on every word and stuff like that. And they aren't really, I said previously, they aren't scary because there's nobody living in it, right? Them stories that you're talking about, But we do know that, we mentioned off air about the Sharon Rectory that, they've told their stories so much and that they're very much living in that experience every day as well.
Yeah. And that something that is interesting to note about sites like Sharon Rectory. There are many sites across the country. What is interesting about our country in general is that people across the world who are interested in this subject of the paranormal cite Ireland and Scotland and England and sections of northern France as one of the most active regions in the world for occurrences like this. So Sharon Rectory is sort of slotted in there in a group of very active places, and people, I as my work as a tour guide has exposed me to thousands of people over the years from the North America, and they all say the same thing, that there's a draw, there's a connection. We're almost like the California of Ireland here in Donegal, where that activity is heightened, and they go away feeling that. Yeah. So they've told me on numerous occasions.
Yeah, that's amazing, isn't it? Too?
So Sharon Rectory is just as sort of a tip of an iceberg when it comes to that experience here, which is why I think Gary has done so well to get Haunted Ireland off the ground the way he has, because I don't think it really would have the power, pardon the pun, behind it as anywhere else other than here in Donegal.
Yeah, and do you get many people, Gary, travelling from other parts of the world?
Yeah, we get a lot of people coming from all over.
Yeah,
we get a lot of people actually asking us to go to them.
Right.
But it's easier said than done. Like we're all families and working. And,
well, that's it. Yeah.
But no, it's great. And even people, like my phone every day now, I'm getting messages and stories, and this happened, and this happened, and this house is haunted, and it's great. I love all that kind of stuff. So it's great to get.
And if somebody does say to you that a house is haunted, if you go, then do you immediately get a sense, or does some
you get the
that
feeling,
you don't?
You get the feeling. Like that house we were in there last Friday night. Like we were walking around that house, 35 or 40 of us, and you're walking out of rooms and just hitting a cold spot.
Yeah.
And just everybody's. It's brilliant. Like I love it. I love it.
And do you ever? Is it like you obviously have a keen interest in it? So do you always feel safe, or is there any time you go in somewhere and you're kind of like, oh, I'm not too sure about
no,
this?
I feel safe now. I haven't been somewhere yet today. I don't feel safe.
Yeah.
And like I say, we're there in numbers, and we've got a good team to look after everybody. So no, it's all good.
Yeah. And you held a walking tour in Letterkenny earlier this week. There's obviously such great old architecture around the town. Is there any stories from that you can share?
Well, yeah, we have one story which
we won't tell the story about here. We'll leave that one.
You're definitely trying to freak me.
He's behind you, not in a good way. So no, one story. The county museum there is said to have a wee ghost that has learned over the years how to work the lift.
Oh.
So aside from moving the odd exhibit around upstairs from time to time, now it's graduated to hitting the buttons in the lift.
Right.
And I was doing a series of talks for Waynefest recently for the library, and we got talking about the Haunted Ireland work.
Yeah.
And they were saying, oh, sure, that's great. Sure, we've normalised the fact at this stage now that it's there, and we don't bat an eyelid anymore. But from time to time, you'd be here on your own, and the next thing, this is the the ladies who work in the
Yeah.
museum. Next thing, the lift just goes off by itself, and
Right.
I thought that's brilliant.
But that is like a comical thing too. Like they're not harming anybody.
No, this is and
Yeah.
this is a large running theme of things. And I think just to touch on the notion of perception for a moment, some people have asked me, are you sure it's a wise thing or a safe thing to be going to places that have these occurrences happening and messing around with them? And I think it's good to clarify that we're not actually doing anything that would involve asking anything to come forward.
You're not disturbing them as such.
No, we're simply just observational.
Yeah.
And whatever your perception perceives during your time in that space
Yeah.
is very much.
That's great because that's the way it is.
Yeah.
It's your perception and your
Exactly.
interpretation of everything. Yeah.
And it's strongly advised against anyone trying to, elicit a response from
Yeah.
whatever they believe the other side is. If they desperately want to get in touch with it, they'll do it themselves.
Yeah. They'll come out and they'll say
They're in a
hello
world
to
of
you.
their own, just leave them alone.
Yeah.
So
So Charlie, you have an event coming up this afternoon
Yes,
as well.
I
You're
do. No rest
running
for the
down
wicked.
to. So tell us about that, or anybody interested that can go along.
Yeah, I was in the central pharmacy because I'm in and out of there with folks who need medication on a regular basis, and they've looked after me very well for years. And they're out doing a wee event, a trick or treating event. That's free today, this afternoon, for the duration of their opening hours. And I said to them, if you want a story or two, I'll come down and do a few stories for you.
Yeah.
And they said, yeah, that'll be great. So
Perfect.
that's where I'm at now. After I get out of the hot seat here, I'll be down.
Yeah,
I'll
you'll
be
be
down
down
there
to
with
keep
them.
everyone
Yeah.
entertained. And then yourself, Gary, you had an event here locally a few months back, sold out, but you have another one now coming up next month.
The end of November, 29th of November, we have another one. Now it's in Silvertassie, Letterkenny. Looking forward to that again already. Tickets are flying. Tickets went on sale just last night. They're flying, so they're so people know
Great.
what they're getting. They know what they're coming to.
So where can people get the tickets?
on my Facebook page,
On your Facebook.
Haunted Ireland Facebook page.
Perfect.
The links there and that. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you so much both for
It's
calling
a
up.
pleasure chatting to you. Thank you so
Great.
much for having
Thank
me.
you so
very
much
much,
and
yeah.
happy Halloween to you
Happy
both.
Halloween to you too.
Thank you.